Hi, everyone. Amanda Gregg here with your Mindfulness Monday. Thanks so much for enjoying or joining us today. You are going to enjoy this. I know you are. As you can see, today is interview day, and today I'm interviewing Jocelyn Bellows. She is here with us today. So welcome, Jocelyn. So great to have you.
Hi, Amanda, and thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate taking the time or creating this time for us today.
Yes, me too, me too. So usually I start off with just a little bit of an introduction of our guest, but I want to tell you about our topic today. So today we are talking about from busy to be in 30 seconds. And this is June's topic, as we've talked about in other casts of Mindfulness Monday, is all about busyness and how we are within that realm and some of the tools and tips and tricks that our guests and as well as myself have been sharing this month. I hope that it's been helping you continue to build that awareness and thrive within that busyness space for yourself and what it means for you. So thanks again for joining us. So it's funny, Jocelyn and I were talking just before we went live about how I met her. And we did meet at a live event before live events were not a thing. And one of the networking
I'll
groups.
return.
Yeah. And it was a while back, right, Jocelyn, that we met?
It was, I think, April or May or something of last year.
Yes, of last year. Yes. So come back around, and we met again over Facebook. And it was one of those times that you're like, wait, I know you from somewhere. And so
Right.
that's how we connected. And what we were talking about is that the community that we circle in, and that probably all of us circle in, can sometimes seem so small because we know so many of those people. So that's how we got reconnected. And I'm really, really, really excited to have you here today, Jocelyn. So Jocelyn has a business. She is a coach, and so Jocelyn Bellows Coaching. And so she does from breakup to wake up coaching. And I'm excited for you to just chat with us a little bit about that before we get into our topic. Would that be okay?
Absolutely, because I think oftentimes people sort of misconstrue what that actually means. And when I speak about breakup to wake up, what that actually means is actually breaking up with bad habits that you have created for yourself, the stories that you've told yourself of unworthiness or undeserving, or that you're a victim of life, or why is this world, like, why are these things happening to me? And really getting to the roots of why we say these things to ourselves, why we talk to ourselves the way that we do, that internal dialogue, and really breaking those habits, and then creating new habits and form new opinions about yourself, and tell yourself how worthy you are, and believe that you're worthy and deserving, worthy of making the money that you want. You're worthy of having the friends and the life that you desire. You're worthy of receiving love from yourself and from others. That you're not a victim, that you're actually, the circumstances that you're in are things that you've created for yourself. When you start to shift from this place of doubt and self-worth or unworthiness, and you shift to say, I am worthy, I am deserving, I'm going to live into this being, and how your circumstances then change, that's the life that we get to live and create in our own way, in our own being. So that's great. Wake up. And relationships, external relationships, will shift because you're showing up differently, because you're showing up differently within your being. But the relationship itself is actually a relationship to yourself.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think as you were talking there, I was just thinking it's really helping people to understand how powerful they are, and how much our thoughts and our actions are so much connected in that way as we start to, as you say, show up differently, and be able to just change that for ourselves. It starts to then project something entirely different.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up projection. So, like, I call it my Care Bear stare. And because there's a certain generation that understands what that means.
Oh yeah.
When we're in a place when our heart is fully open and really in a place of happiness and receiving, our hearts actually extend out 6 feet beyond our being. So it's interesting going through this COVID thing. And I know obviously we're able to spend more time with people, but with that we had that 6-foot distance. So we couldn't even feel each other's hearts, right? Because we were literally that far away from each other and causing more disconnection between ourselves and others. Having said that though, is if you ever notice, I'm sure you've noticed this, that there are people that emanate around you. Like there are people that you're just naturally attracted to, and it's not that they're like, it's not that they may not be speaking loudly. They may be the quiet person in the corner, yet there's something like this essence of their being. Those people are really living within themselves. They're living within their heart and within their body. Those are the people, like when you're attracted, like that magnetism, that's because that's just who they are and how they're showing up. And so there's a natural magnetic force that will bring you together. Or you just want to be around that person or those people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. As you were saying that, I got chills. I was just thinking a little bit about some of the people that I spent time with this weekend, where it was just like, yeah, I could totally feel that in some of those moments when it was just like, it just felt really, really connected because of that. So thanks for sharing that too. The other thing that I want to bring up, and I think also brings us into our topic a little bit, is I've been thinking a lot about this idea of, and I don't know if it's a versus, but it kind of is in my mind right now, where it's a shift or a change. And if those two are the same or different, for some reason for me, it's been sort of this change versus shift. And shifting feels like it's not something that has to be changed, but it's like this opportunity to really be able to look at the circumstances and figure out how you want to react differently. And that begins with some of the tools that we're going to share today, I think, as we're talking about this busyness. So I hope that tees us up okay with that sort of idea of how do we go from busy to that being, and this quickly.
Yeah.
So
I want to address this. You bring, I love your dichotomy of the words of shift and change, because I believe that they're actually related, right? So when we really are aspiring to make change in our life, it actually is several small shifts that you make. So it's a series of shifts, and they can be big shifts. They could happen like that. They can be tiny little shifts about how you operate in your world that cause that big change that you're perhaps aspiring for. And so, like, to really bring into focus of what today's topic or this month's topic is about taking, going from busyness to just being. One of the things that I really focus in on is breathing and taking some time to just breathe. And there's an exercise, like when you talked about, you mentioned reaction, and I'm going to change that to respond. So you might be in conversation with somebody, whether you're in a good conversation with them or there's some angst in that conversation. Oftentimes in conversation, we're already jumping ahead to our response to that person before we've actually been present to what the conversation actually is. It's like, oh, I hear this thing, I want to respond to it in this way, and like your mind starts already going, right? Rather than just like staying in a moment of stillness of just listening and then responding rather than, oh, I'm going to react, right? So there's that component. But the breathing, especially if they say you're in a heated situation, a breathing exercise that can really help to slow things down is, and this is really important of the whole process. So you can take like a 4-second breath in through your nose, hold it for 7 seconds, and then release through your mouth for 8 seconds. And if you do it just 3 times, you'll cause a shift in your beingness, because our heads are constantly talking at us. Or not everyone has that constant talk. There are also people out there that see things rather than hear things in their head. But we're constantly having this chatter, right? And here's this back and forth in conversation, and we're constantly in this place of the breathing slows that down. It allows you to stay present to the moment, and it allows you for space for something potentially new to come into your being that you can speak out now in a way of a conversation or a response in a conversation. So that's one way that you can just take, and it doesn't take long. I mean, that takes what, 30 seconds to make that happen, to create that shift.
Well, I'm wondering, Jocelyn, can we kind of show the audience that's watching either live or recorded here on how to do that? Will you count for us?
Sure. Do you want to do the breathing and I'll count for you?
Yeah, sounds great. We'll show them and do it along with us.
Okay, so I'm going to start counting. And you ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. Now shift to 7, holding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now release through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So as you do that, one thing I also neglected to mention is when you're doing that breathing exercise, to also envision as you're breathing in, that breath is going down through your throat into your body and going as low as, low into your belly. So not just that like shallow breathing, but a very deep breathing, that you're really embodying that breath within your being.
Yeah. I really like the holding at the top. That brings, I think we can get into that breath and kind of start breathing a little bit deeper, which I've definitely seen shift for people. That holding at the top does something different, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's a shift up here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because I'm curious, so you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you know what? Let's do it one more time.
Yeah.
And I'd like for you to share your observations of what you might see differently having done this. So I'm just going to count the 4, 7, 8.
Okay.
Directive, because you know how to do it. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. So I think my observation, and probably with all the mindfulness Mondays, I can be in my head and I have to shift into my body. So that definitely occurred, especially with that pause at the top. It was like, okay, and then when you're breathing it back out, I really just felt it all throughout my body, all the way down.
It quiets your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the biggest things, because you're now focused on your breath, right? And I relate this to sporting activities. So like, I'm a cyclist. I have a couple of bikes that I ride, and when I'm riding, I have to be focused on what's ahead of me, like what's on the ground. If I'm on my mountain bike, like the turns that are coming, and anything that I might be rolling over. Do I have to stand up so that I'm not being bounced off the seat? I'm focused on the activity, so my mind is shifting. It's not shifting into these swirling thoughts. It's present to what is right in front of me. And that's that shift. Yes.
Well, and I think that's a beautiful exercise and a beautiful tool for those viewing, and for myself as well, is that as you get into that space and can find your space in that busyness, and kind of what happens for me is I definitely know my heart starts to race just a little bit, and a little bit of an anxiety, I can feel it. And so I could see how a breath like that can take me just 30 seconds to stop what I'm doing and then be able to make that shift, so then I can then move into action and continue moving forward in a totally different way.
Yeah. It's also something to, not just for yourself, right, as adults, and you can use that at work, you can use that in conversation with your spouse or with somebody, with anyone, this is a great tool too. You can also teach and use with your children. I know you and I both have younger boys. And, I know right now mine has had some, some hiccups along the way, especially, post, in the midst of COVID and being home and missing his friends and having some anger around some things or having, and he's also 5 and he's learning how to like relate with other kids and he's an only child. So that's a tool that I've been using with him.
Beautiful.
As well.
Yeah.
So
that's great. That's great. Definitely. That's a beautiful tool for that and what we have continuing moving forward with what that looks like for us all as parents. So thank you. Yeah. Was there any other tool? I know you said there was a few that you were going to talk about here, but is there any other one that you wanted to share with us?
There's one that I like to start my day with and start my day with, and then there's another one that I'd like to end days with too, and not just for myself, but this is something that I think is a great practice, is when you wake up in the morning, before you sort of jump out of bed or lazily get out of bed, however your morning begins. Mine depends on whether my child is here or not. Is taking some time in the morning to free journal, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever feels right to you. I don't tend to journal for very long. I get impatient. But it's really important that you start that in the morning before your day, before your mind starts going, because your mind is clear. You're waking up first thing in the morning and your mind is clear from the night before. And so this is an opportunity to, like, whatever has sort of been floating in there, whatever might be unresolved, here's an opportunity to just free journal, whatever pops in your mind. And it can be messy, it doesn't have to be complete sentences, it doesn't have to make sense, actually. That's okay, just get it out of your being. And then from there, write down 3 gratitude statements. Like, what are you grateful for in the life that you have right now? Maybe it's just excited about something for the day ahead. Maybe it's really simple. Like, I know a lot of times I write something really simple, like, I'm really grateful that the sun is shining into my room this morning. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple. And then feel that, like, allow yourself to sort of imbibe that into your being. Like, what does that make you feel when you get to say these gratitude statements? It can shift your entire day just by starting that way. And let's say you're passing through the day, right? And you come out of a really difficult conversation or something that didn't go the way that you'd hoped. I know, like, right now I've been trying to send a text message and before we got on this call, and my text won't go through. So it's frustrating, right? I'm like, all right, I just want to get this communication out.
Yeah.
It's meant to go out right now. I don't know why, but there's a reason. But again, taking that moment, like, if you allow that to start to unwind your day, go back to a point of gratitude. Say one thing, I'm grateful today because I have a phone, right? Or I'm grateful I have someone to talk to, because there are people that don't, right? Whatever that is, it's a little shift, just a little shift. And you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours doing it. That's 15 seconds of your life. And then if you get to, take another 30 seconds to notice how your mind has shifted and how your positivity may have shifted, any of those things. The end of the day, another practice that I really enjoy and sharing is, we're so going back to this busyness factor, especially now that businesses are opening back up and we're kind of falling back into our routines of getting up in the morning, going to work, coming home, having dinner, whatever you have to do in the evening. And then many people, we turn on the TV as a way to, like, relax, right? TV, though, starts to stimulate different things within your mind. So before you go to bed, you turn off that TV and spend 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is really important, in quiet. So you don't have to be sitting in the dark or anything. This is not necessarily a meditation. Like, you don't have to be seated with your palms open. If that suits you, go for it. Spend just 10 minutes in quiet, or some relaxing music. You can play that relaxing music, but no technology, no phone. Like, don't be looking at a screen. No TV, no conversation. It's just you centered with you. That's 10 minutes. I know we talked about 30 seconds, but that's that last thing you do. And then maybe take note of how you slept that night. Try it for a week. Just try it for a week and see what happens, you know?
Yeah. No, that's great.
70 minutes out of your life over the course.
Right, right. Well, and I really love that. What I talk about with my audience, and for those of you that do or do not know me, I have a business called Soaring Eagle Healing, and I'm passionate about helping people get comfortable in their body to be able to actually work through some of this curiosity and some of this awareness to really have that consistent practice. And so what I'm really loving about interviews like this, and especially this one, is that we're giving you a few tools to really look at and be curious about what that does. Just like Jocelyn said, where it's like, just try it out for a week. And what I always tell people is if it resonates with you, great. If not, move along and find something else, right? So
there's so many practices and tools out there. And I really wanted to mention, like, these are just succinct little things, because I think when we talk about habits, forming habits, if you start to overload yourself with, I can do A, B, C, D, and E, and it takes like 2 hours every morning and an hour and a half every night, unless you're super dedicated to yourself, and there are people that are out there that are, or go through phases of this, it's important that we keep them to places where you can easily digest and infuse them into your daily life.
I love that. Infuse them. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing those with us. So very exciting. And I love to have these tools and be able to show them. So really appreciate you sharing those with us today for that. So as we come to a close, I just want to talk about a few things that Jocelyn has coming up. And I love sharing this, and we'll be sharing this in the link below that you can always check out some more information. But first of all, Jocelyn has a podcast that she does. So I don't know how you want to talk about that, but give us a little bit of information about that.
Absolutely. So my podcast is called Leap, and it's hosted on anchor.fm. However, you can find it on anywhere you can find any podcasts. And oh my gosh, you can find it by searching What's Your Leap? And what it is, I actually talk with coaches and coaches and healers. So people just like yourself, Amanda, who I interview when we talk about what inspired them to take a leap of faith in starting their own business. And what it's really become is their own journey of understanding more about themselves and the gifts that each of us have received through our own journey. And how do we bring that forward into helping others? Because we often, if you stay really internal and you don't reach out beyond your being, you can start to create these stories of it's just me and I'm all alone and no one's ever experienced what I'm going through. And that's just simply not true. So this is a wonderful way where we can reflect our own journeys and learn about, from our own journeys and have other people learn from our journeys and vice versa. I've had many reflections of my own in talking with my own guests, but that I just didn't realize I had the awareness of, like, it wasn't in my being. And then I had to hear something from someone else and say, oh yeah, that relates to this part of me, or it's opened up a new space that I hadn't considered before. So
love that. Well, I highly recommend listening to a podcast. Check those out. They are wonderful. I myself have checked out a few of them. So thanks for that gift. And one of the things I talk to my clients a lot about too is telling about it. I love it. Like, sharing, like you're saying, the journey, because it inspires and it helps others along the way. So that is a really big piece of what I talk about. So last thing that we're going to end on that I'm excited to hear about as well is you have an event tonight that you want to share with us.
I do. Yeah, starting at 6 p.m. I am partnering with Lauren Villegas, and Lauren and I are going to be co-hosting a sound healing journey from 6 to 8 p.m. The details Amanda will be including in the show notes here, but it is on Facebook and it's an open event. It is free. It's donation based. So if you feel so compelled, we'd love to have a donation made. And what we're going to do is some body movement. First, we're going to do some body movement, and then I'm going to lead a conversation about how we define our values and why that's so important, because values define the boundaries and our intention of how we want to live. They do the boundaries that, our values determine how we are empowering ourselves to make decisions that we believe in, but best align for our being. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then close out the evening with a sound healing journey that Lauren will be leading.
How cool. How cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it's such a great time for that as well as we move into the summer solstice at
Yes.
the end of the week here. That's such a beautiful way to move into that. So, yes, we will be putting that also in the link below, and you can check out that more and get registered for that event, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Well, with that, I'd love to close our Mindfulness Monday. Again, thank you, Jocelyn, for being here with us today and sharing all the beautiful tools you did today. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome. All right. And for all of you watching, thanks for always being here, for being just listening to the different tools. Be curious, be consistent in just practicing these different things that you're starting to learn, not only from Mindfulness Monday, but throughout your day and throughout your weeks. Just being aware and being able to move within that is such a beautiful thing to continue practicing. So please do that. And we will be back again next Mindfulness Monday next week at 3:30 Mountain Time, where I'll be sharing a topic again about busyness. We are in our last week of June, so we'll be talking about that and wrapping that up next week. So hope to see you then, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you.